It would seem as though.
Hi. Good morning. It would seem as though we are back for yet another week of It Would Seem As Though, the podcast where we talk about anything, everything, and nothing.
Mostly nothing.
I'm Vesta.
I'm Annika.
And we're here.
Barely.
We're here, we're queer, get used
Listen,
to it, get over it, get whatever.
Our physical meat sacks are here, girl, but mentally.
I know, my soul left the building weeks ago.
I'm napping somewhere.
My soul left my body. Oh my god. I'm so fucking tired.
Agreed. I'm over it.
It's like, I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. I don't get enough sleep. My stupid dog, who I love to bits and pieces, just has to wake me up every morning at 5 o'clock or before
Yodeling.
to go outside.
She's yodeling.
She's yodeling, she's screaming, she's howling, she's barking, she's doing everything to get all the attention she can so that I will come downstairs and let her outside. But then she's usually already pooped her diaper.
Which is hysterical to say. I love that.
Right. My 8-year-old pit bull wears a diaper to bed.
And sometimes she poops it.
And sometimes she poops it. And sometimes she pees it. I mean, she's an old lady.
It happens.
You know, she's got her depends on. Every week, or every day, not every week. Every day I'm all, come on. Could we just have a little more sleep?
Yeah.
No.
It's so funny because I know that like they go out a million times a day, and I know that they go out before bed and all of that. So it's interesting to me that now it's become a everyday occurrence where she wants to scream until you come let her out of her cage.
Right. I'm just concerned that the new dog will pick up on this behavior and be like, oh wait, if I scream, they'll come and let me out. I hate this thing. Because unlike a lot of people who have dogs or cats or whatever, we do not let them sleep in our beds. We, they sleep in their beds, their crates, whatever you want to call them, and whatever. I mean, it's like, if I tried to sleep with a dog, I'd never sleep. Because, well, our Great Dane, is a Great Dane. And he's the one that sleeps in our bed until bedtime. Because every night, the dogs come upstairs. One sleeps with the boy, one sleeps with the girl, one sleeps with us. And then at bedtime, when we go to sleep, around 11-ish, they go downstairs, they go outside, they go potty, they go in their beds. But now...
And what size is your bed? A king?
A king-size bed.
Yeah, and looking at that Great Dane laying across it is literally the cutest thing ever.
I know, I'll walk into my room and he'll be spread all the way across the bed, and it's like, really, dog?
But I love those, the moment he sees you, his tail's off, thump, 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 thump. I'm like,
what's also funny is if I'm like, get on your own side of the bed, which means he has to get on his dad's side of the bed, he will like put out his feet and then army crawl just the teeniest little bit. So his feet are now on that side, but his butt is still on my It's like, get off my side of the bed.
Yeah, you big cow.
But he's so damn cute. He's hard,
He's cute. He's a sweet boy.
He is a sweet boy. He's up there now, sleeping on the bed.
It's his favorite place.
He's very tired of the new boy.
I mean,
and so he'll like put up with him for a few minutes. And he's like, I'm going upstairs and going to lay on my bed. But that little boy can't get on yet.
Right, he can't get on it.
I think that because there's nowhere for him to like take a running jump at it, because that is how he got over the fence the other day.
Okay.
He took a running jump from the side of the house and cleared the fence like it was nothing. It is only a 3-foot fence.
But goddamn.
But still.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now that I've got him,
God.
I think, bless you, now that I think I have him unable to go through your fence, because for about 3 days there, I'd look out there, and there he is on your side of the fence, and I was like, God damn it. So I, jury rigged it, so it's like, there's bungee cords and everything's holding it together.
There's a
so
moat
it's real
now.
classy, right? There's a moat with
an alligator. Yeah.
And now, hopefully. But he's still over there, like, when he's outside nosing the gate. It's like,
let me
it's
in.
going to open. I know it's going to open.
I know, and my dogs just don't care.
They really don't, because he got over there the other day, was sitting there with them, and they were just like, who this?
Why is there a boy in my yard? Mom! There's a boy in my yard!
There's a boy here. God, we hate boys. Get him out. But they were like, whatever.
Well, they're 800 years old.
I know, they're old, and they're just like, whatever. I think Jeannie probably just wanted someone to play with her, because she was with two of the oldest ladies in the world.
Yeah.
So Annika has a dog, Ami Jean, who is this hyperactive Chihuahua coyote mix who always is on vibrate. Mm-hmm. She's just always moving.
Yep, we could heat our houses if we could just harness that power.
And her two sisters are Methuselah, and I don't know who else is that old.
Yeah, I know,
but
honestly.
They're both like old ladies who were blind and toothless.
And all they do is like fart and sleep. And Jean wants to like sprint circles and play with her sisters, and they're all fuck off.
They're like, no thanks. Mm-hmm. We just want to lie in the sun or lay by the heater.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Poor Jean.
I know. She's just like, somebody play with. Well, she's got the kittens now.
But you know what? Even though she's the one, so she's the one who like found them, right? She's the one who like pointed and waited for them to come to the fence, and then was very sweet to them. But now that they've been in the house, she didn't want them to touch her or come even close to her. Like, when they were little, they would come up to her and she would, like, show her little teeth. And I was like, you're supposed to be their mom! Love them! But they're better now. She doesn't really hate them, but she doesn't want to play with them either. She's all, fuck it. I'm a loner. I'm a lone wolf.
If I can't play with my sisters, who hate me, they're 100.
Exactly.
Poor little Mixie. I mean, she really is. She's got to be close to 100.
Has dementia, girl. She does this thing that I like to call Blair Witching, where she'll just stand and stare at the corner of the wall, or just the wall, or nothing, until you're all Mixie, and then she's all, oh, I'm here. I forget.
Wait, there are people here?
She was just disassociating. How did I get here? It's fine.
How long have I been here?
Honestly, yeah. She's an old lady.
Oh my goodness. We have some stuff to talk about today. One of the things I wanted to talk about that is much more disturbing to me now that I saw a map. Okay. Because, maps are disturbing because you have to know how to read them. But I saw a map of the United States. And this was specifically of all the states that have put a ban on drag shows for people under 18.
I hate it.
It is the entire center of the country.
Of course.
I mean, and it's a lot of states. And then Florida and Arizona. So some of the shit, states nobody wants to go to anyway. But there's a lot of states that have literally banned drag shows from, so it's like the drag queen library stuff, the brunches, the all ages kind of shows, they've banned them, so it's illegal for anyone under 18 to attend. Why? Because people are fucking stupid.
Yes.
It's like, because drag queens are grooming children. Which, I think we're mistaking them for senators.
Senators and church officials, but that's the weirdest part to me is show me the cases or the examples in which queer people, and I know that has happened, but trans women and drag queens, show me where these people are grooming children, and it doesn't happen. But then I say, give me a list of politicians who've done the same fucking thing, guess what? It's like almost all of them,
It's a long list.
Yeah, so it seems to be what always happens with like the morality police is that there is a niche, right? There's a little niche marginalized group, and you're going to create legislation against them. That should scare everybody because because you are picking out some of the most marginalized people and deciding to create legislation, which the population of drag queens is what in the United States?
But because drag is becoming more and more and more mainstream, because we're now seeing, of course, RuPaul's Drag Race is the biggest catalyst for that. But it's like now we see drag queens. Shangela was just on Dancing with the Stars.
Okay, yeah.
And there's all these different things, commercials. Yeah. And there's, they're not all for queer things.
Yeah.
Like I saw a commercial the other day for, God, what was it? I don't know, something mainstream, and it was like, oh, a queer couple. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a drag queen. Or that's a person, probably non-binary, who was looked masculine-ish to me, so probably man. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But with false eyelashes and very, very pretty, and I was like, girl, we really are everywhere. Mm-hmm. And the more queer folk and drag queens and whatever infiltrate the general populace, the more they try to legislate. It's like, oh, God, we got to stop this. Well, you can't stop it. Mm-mm. You can make all your stupid laws.
Yep. Good luck,
but it's not going to stop.
Listen, we've talked about this before, and I talk about this in, like, almost every class that has to do with, like, gender or masculinity and femininity. There was, like, the morality police. This is why Pride was a thing, right? Where it was illegal for people to wear clothing opposite of their gender.
Yes.
And guess what? That's how we got to Pride, bitch. That's why bricks were thrown at cops. That's why there was a riot. That's why there was a brawl. Like, go ahead. Keep it up. But, like, drag's not going anywhere. Queer people aren't going anywhere. Like, they've always been here, and they always will be here. And so, for you to try and, like, stop the inevitable is cute.
But it always seems that way to me. It always seems like as things progress, as things, you know, more people get the rights that they should have always had, that the people who are gatekeeping the rights are like, no, we can't let these freaks in here because they're going to ruin our party.
You can't do that.
Oh my God.
You can't.
You know, it's like, what's your problem?
Right.
No one's taking anything from you.
Well, and I just wrote this entire research paper about masculinity and transness. Anyway, but one thing that I learned, and this is from 5 years ago, so the trans population was 1.4 million in the entire United States, which is 0.6% of the population. Not even a full percentage
not even 1%.
of everybody. And so if you break that down to trans women, non-binary people, and trans men, each one of them has less than 0.5%. Each one has like 2.2%, you know, of the population that they make up. And so why are you focusing on creating legislation for such a niche group of people that is unnecessary? Because queer people just want to go to a bathroom. You know what I mean? Queer people just want to play a sport or use a locker room or join the military for whatever reason. Queer people just want to live their life, and they're not out here trying to make themselves more of a target in front of you. Like, that's stupid, and it's idiotic to spend so much resource and energy trying to stop people from just existing, because it'll never stop existing.
Well, and it's all about control. It's just like, I want more control over these people who seem to be out of control because they're living their lives and not giving a shit what I think about it. You know, I remember a few years back when all the bathroom bill nonsense started, and I know it's more than a few years, but I remember these ad campaigns that I saw where it was really, really hot trans men saying, "You want me in the bathroom with your wife or your girlfriend? Really?"
Yeah.
Or really, really hot trans women saying, "You want me in the bathroom with your husband?"
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
and and it's like, if you think about, look at these people. What your problem is, you know, you people who are like trying to police who goes to the bathroom.
Yeah.
You claim it's, you know, it's for the children. It's all for the... It's not. It's because you're bothered.
Yep.
Because, you know, people are living their lives and they're not living them by your rules. So you're bothered by it. Well, get the fuck over it, because you're not the bathroom police. You're not the moral police. You're not the whatever. You know, take several seats.
Yep. Well, and that is like a politician's scapegoat, is to be like, well, we have to do it for the children. And it's always some unnamed, anonymous, random children of the future, right?
Yes.
And so I always have a bone of contention with that, because I'm like, why do we try to make the world better or whatever, do better for our planet, for this future generation of people who don't even exist and may not exist? Like, I understand, yes, the world should be better for people who come after us, but why not, instead of being like, well, the children, or we need to save the children? Like, yeah, you do, but also there's a world full of people currently who are alive right now who could benefit from better laws or better public services or whatever the case may be. But instead you focus on some future that may never fucking happen for some children who don't exist.
You want to protect somebody? Protect black people.
Girl.
Protect black trans women who are murdered at alarming numbers.
An astonishing rate.
And it's like, and most places where it happens, they're like, what? Well, you know,
see how they were
goes back to, for me, it goes back to the beginning of the AIDS crisis. It was like, well, you know, the right people are dying, so we don't care.
It's God's punishment.
Yeah, whoopsies, we don't care. So black trans women, well, I guess they shouldn't be out and about. Oh, they shouldn't be doing the you know, it's like, you need to, instead of worrying about protecting these random children that don't exist, or these children who are not being harmed or threatened. Protect people who are being threatened. Protect people who are having, you know, I'm sorry, but if you look at the number of women of color and then trans women of color, these are groups who are in danger, in real danger. And just being black is dangerous. Because, you know, you have all these people, it's like, the police are still randomly murdering people. But black trans women specifically, like I said, are murdered at this alarming rate.
Yeah.
It's like, because they're trans. No other reason.
Well,
they're not committing a crime and they get killed. No.
Well, and like...
They're just being themselves. And, it's terrifying.
Well, I mean, but look at the overlapping, too. Because you said to be black. Also, black women have a double bind because they're black and they're women, right?
Yes.
So they are marginalized and subjugated by everybody else. But then if you're black and trans and a woman, that's 3 strikes, you're out, bitch. Like, I'm sorry, you want us to protect you, but we can't protect one of your identities, let alone all 3 of them.
Right.
Right.
Well, and the bigger part, I don't think it's that we can't.
We just won't.
They just don't want to. Lawmakers, police, all these people don't want to. Because then they would have to actually make an effort. Then they would have to really look at how the world is going and how it's going to shit.
Yep.
I heard, I was listening to one of the pods I listened to yesterday, and one of the people who was talking, Kylie Sonique Love, who is a trans woman and drag performer, was talking about when she was on Drag Race, how, they're all isolated and they are in their hotel rooms when they're not shooting, and it's just them and the television. And if they brought something that you cannot, go on the internet with, like she brought a DVD player. Well, she said she chose to watch her little DVDs that she brought every day instead of watching the news, because she said, I can't focus on that because the world's on fire. And she said, but the world's always on fire. And it'll always be on fire.
Yep.
There's all these things because it's just all the shit that never gets dealt with, that never gets taken care of. So when I heard her say that, I was like, yeah, that's so true, because we talk about how the world's on fire now. But it's always been.
Always.
It's always been something. It's always been fucked up. It's always, I was reading to the kids the other night from this book we have of great people in Black history. And it's a pretty extensive book, and there's a lot of people in it. And one of the things that I read was of this woman, and I'm so sorry, I was going to write down her name and just bring down the book and whatever. But it was the woman who was the she was the leader of Ethiopia.
Okay.
And she fought off the French so that they were not able to colonize Ethiopia. And it was like this woman who was a woman leader, and she was all, no. Yeah. And they were not nearly as armed or as organized or as whatever, but it was like, no, you're not taking our country.
Not today, bitch.
And this is going back hundreds of years.
Oh, yeah.
So the world, always on fire.
Well, and so it's always, I feel like the world's always been a push and pull, right? It's been the people in power trying to take away or marginalize more groups of people or keep them subjugated, right?
Yes.
And so...
Well, because the best way to keep power is to keep other people out of power.
Exactly. And so when marginalized people or people on the fringes of society start to rebel or work together or gain acceptance, then it's, then the people of power try harder. And that's literally everything we see. It comes from people of color, ethnic minorities. It comes from refugees, people who are locked in cages, the climate crisis, like the slaughter of animals. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, it has to do with literally everything. And it's to keep cisgender heterosexual white men in power for the most part, and white women to their proximity to white men, right?
But to a much lesser degree.
To a lesser degree. But you know how people always say, like, women make however many cents on the dollar to men?
Yeah.
It depends on what your race is.
Absolutely.
Because white women, more often than not, make like 91 cents per the dollar of men, which is like still bad, right? But it's not what it used to be. But like black women compared to white men make pennies on the dollar comparatively.
I thought the last thing I read was literally like 37 cents on the dollar.
Right. And so
I don't know if that's still accurate, but I read that not very long ago.
Right. Well, and that's why, like, feminism, often, if your feminism is just centered around your issues alone, then it's not feminism, right? My issues as a woman are everyone's issues as a woman, right? Like, I care about the women who are locked in cages, who can't see their children. I care about the women who need to flee countries, who are black, who are queer, who are differently abled. Like, those women's issues are also mine, because it's important that they have an existence, that they get to live freely and happily and healthily, right? Like, it's not about just because I am white that I'm only concerned about me. But that's the issue, is that happens so often. Race divide is such a class issue that people focus on their own. But if you look at your own as like women, then that's your whole, those are all your people. And I want to say something, I know we're moving on, but I think that the queer morality issues that all these politicians, this is the hill that they've chose to die on, is pathetic and fragile. Like, you can't, because you don't know or can't figure out how to actually fix real structural problems, you choose to focus on marginalized groups. And it's weak, and it's pathetic, and it makes you seem sad and fragile as a human being, because you need to remove queerness from the public eye. You need to hide drag queens from children because children might get the right idea, or the wrong idea, sorry.
I think you're right at first.
I agree.
They might get the right idea.
But, like, here's the thing. People are always like, oh, well, queer people are gonna make their children queer if they have children. Like, do all straight people have just straight children?
Yes. How did you hear
that?
Yeah.
But, like, that's the funniest thing to me. It's not about nurturing somebody into a gender or a sexuality. Like, they are who they are, and depending on how you allow them to be is what you're going to see of them, you know?
Right. I think one of the things that has always been terrifying to the folks in power is how free sexually a lot of queer people are. Not most, but a lot. How, there was all of the men, and I'm going to say specifically men, who would be going out and just having random and anonymous sex. What's funny to me is that straight folks do the exact same thing. They just go to a bar or whatever. They're not necessarily going to the truck stop or a park or whatever. And it's just, it's more, I guess it's less acceptable because it seems like it's outside the norms of what you're not going and doing it the right way. You're not going to a bar and drinking and, it's like, well, I was drunk, so that's my excuse for, screwing a stranger.
Yeah.
Well,
no.
It's like, I'm sorry that other people are free enough in their sexuality that they're like, I'm going to go to this place specifically to meet a random person and have sex.
Yeah.
Period.
And now guess what?
And that's terrifying to so many people because they're so uptight. And it's like, why do you give a shit who someone else, if they're having sex with a consenting adult, why the fuck do you care?
Yeah, why is it your problem?
Yeah.
And it's weird to me that you want to make people's sexual issues your problem. Like,
it is weird.
Yeah, like, are you just queer? Like, do you also want to do what they're doing and you're mad that they get to do it? Like,
right. Or is it because you're just so, whatever, so uptight that anything anybody else does is like, oh, I can't handle it. Reminds me, this is silly. This is going to be a silly comparison. When we had our old dachshund, and she didn't want anybody else having fun.
No, the moment fun happened, she was screaming at you.
She was so mad.
Yeah.
If the dogs were playing, she'd be barking at them, and it was just like, knock it off, go.
Ah.
She was like, get off my lawn, and shaking her stick at her. It's that whole mentality. It's like, I'm not having fun.
Yeah.
You can't either.
Yep.
So sit the fuck down, calm down, go sit in the corner.
Yep.
And go knit an Afghan or whatever. It's like, why? Why do you care?
Well, and that we've talked about this often. People need to learn to sit in their discomfort. Like, why do queer people reading books to children make you so uncomfortable? Or why does a person who has transitioned using the gender appropriate bathroom, why does that make you so uncomfortable? It's because these people are free, right? And I said a lot of this. I took a class, Men and Masculinity, and it drove me crazy. But we're talking about men and how, the whole idea of masculinity, there's like hegemonic, so like traditional, right? You're supposed to be like tough and strong and show no emotion and rugged and blah, 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 blah. Like Marlboro Man was like that. And I'm like, none of those qualities are good. Do you know what I mean?
Right, he's mostly toxic.
He's not kind or smart or helpful or wants to heal the world. Like, none of that. It's about how strong he is. I know, it's effing snowing.
I'm looking out the front window right now just going, what the actual fuck? It's snowing again. And yes, it's probably not going to stick, but I said that the other day, and then we got a foot of snow.
Well, I don't think it is this time, though, because it's not supposed to snow all day. Anyway, God. But
snow.
So talking about, these traditional men, but their masculinity is so fragile because there's always like masculine overcompensation. So when they're around queer men or someone perceives that man as having less masculinity, then they they overcompensate. So that's where we get domestic violence and mass shootings and midlife crisis. And that's why Vietnam War happened, was because of the escalation of demeaning masculinity. And so when I think about men, and I think about queer men and trans men and gay men and marginalized men, I think that they are the strong ones. I don't think the Marlboro Man and fucking John Wayne and any of those douchey ass, heteronormative, I don't wash my butt kind of men, not my gig, you know? I want the men who've had to find their truth and their identity through all of that, through all of the, you need to be more, man up, boys don't cry, blah, 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 who found who they are in that to me is strength. No, I can lift 500 pounds. Like, good for you, and you'll die at 45. Like, I don't give a shit. Go wash your ass. That's mostly what I want to say to most straight men, you know?
Go wash your ass. That is our message to straight men. Go wash your ass.
Honestly, you nasty bitches.
Do they not?
Okay, well, you would be surprised that there is a lot of information. And it's mostly social media. People talking about, like, white people not actually washing their bodies, right? Like, their legs and their feet. There's like, well, the water runs down, so it's fine. But there have been women who've been, like, look like they're texting, but are recording their men, and they're asking, like, so how do you, like, wash your body in the shower? And most of them don't actually, like, wash. They're like, just let the water run down.
That's not washing.
That's not washing, bitch. Or, like, they'll wash their upper body and then just let the soap and water run down. That's still not washing.
No.
What? Yeah,
that's
girl,
a thing?
I didn't realize either. And then I
knew about the white people and the not using washcloths in the shower.
Yeah.
Not washing, whatever, their legs, their feet, their whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say, as an old fat white woman, I can't wash my feet because I can't reach
Well, I mean, okay, but different. But, like...
But I'm always clean. I shower every day. I wash all the important stuff. And I don't wash, like, everything every day because, like, I don't wash my legs don't get dirty. And I clean all the stuff that gets dirty or it's going to smell funky.
Ew, girl.
But...
You getting dirty.
Yeah, Mm-hmm. But... I didn't realize that was a thing.
Yeah, gross, right? It's fucking disgusting. And now, when
I do wonder about my own children, though, because my son always kind of stinks. And it's like, you gotta wash your armpits. You gotta wash all the stuff that's gonna get smelly.
All the nooks and crannies, bitch, get in there, right? Like, I know. But now, I know where I work, I meet a lot of Happy Valley dads, or, like, I work with, like, white straight dudes, and I just think, ew. Like, go wash your ass, you dirty bitch. So now, call men out.
Right.
So now make them feel inferior for being dirty.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, one of the other things, because I only had a little short list of topics I wanted to talk about today. Yeah. I know I'm usually the one I guess I'm always the one who talks about, like, celebrities who have passed. Yeah. Well, one of my favorites passed, which I didn't know until I saw. I was like, big tears. Raquel Welch.
Really?
Raquel Welch, who, in my humble opinion, one of the most beautiful women ever to exist on the planet. Mm-hmm. I have always thought, since I was a little kid, I've always just thought she was so beautiful. And she was one of those women, in, again, my opinion, who, as she got older, just got more beautiful. And I was just like, how... What does she have? One of those paintings in her attic?
Mm-hmm.
Because
she
just gets
Dorian
more
Gray.
and more and more beautiful. She is Dorian Gray.
Yeah.
Now, what I learned, because I looked up a little bit about her, because I knew some.
Yeah.
I knew that she was Latina.
Okay. Yeah.
Her birth name was Jo Raquel Tejada.
Cute. Okay.
And so she just dropped the Jo and she went by Raquel Tejada, and then she got married. Which is how it became Raquel Welch.
Got it.
But the studio was like, Raquel Tejada, it's too hard to say. Can we call you Debbie? And she was like, no.
Debbie?
Can you imagine? Debbie.
Debbie.
No. And so she was 82 years old and still looked 40-ish.
Yeah.
And younger people probably would know her from, like, just right out of my head.
Nothing.
Legally Blonde, where she played Mrs. Wyndham Vandemar.
That's right.
Right. And she, at that point, was, like, in her 60s, and she's phenomenal. But, what was I going to say? So, she did a movie back early in her career, which is a terrible, terrible, deeply terrible movie called Myra Breckenridge. Myra Breckenridge is the story of this person who has a sex change, and once they have the sex change, they become Raquel Welch. Well, you just won the lottery.
Yeah, congratulations.
You went from Rex Reed to Raquel Welch. There's not enough plastic surgery in the world.
Bitch, that's witchcraft and wizardry.
And it was also one of the last movies that Mae West did.
Oh my god, I love Mae West.
And they fucking hated each other.
Really?
Yes, because they were like dueling divas. And Mae West was old by this point. But I saw an interview with Raquel Welch where they asked her about Mae West and being kind of more trying to be, appropriate and say, she just was like, we worked together. I mean, she didn't say it was like, oh yes, I loved her. It was just like, she was
in that movie.
She sure was there. But, if you don't know who Raquel Welch is, then look her up because she was an amazing lady.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And she was also never considered like a great actress because she started out, and this is because her first big thing was she did this movie called 2 Million Years BC, where she's wearing this like doe skin bikini, and there's posters from all over the 60s of her in this little bikini.
Yeah. And
she had like a couple lines in the movie, but nobody cared if she was speaking because she's this gorgeous woman in a fur bikini.
Yeah. Who doesn't love that?
Who doesn't love that, right? But she was a badass chick.
I might go put on my fur bikini right now since it's snowing.
Since it's snowing.
Yeah, girl.
Well, if you're going to wear a bikini in the snow...
It better be fur.
It better be fur.
Yes. It's how our ancestors did it.
Yeah. So last week, and actually for the last few, we've been talking about Black History Month, and we were talking a little bit about blaxploitation film. I learned something. Now, when we did our whole thing on that last year about blaxploitation films, and I said to you, I was very surprised that The Wiz was considered a blaxploitation film.
Yeah.
Because, it was big budget, big stars, big whatever. More importantly, what I learned when I watched the Is That Black Enough For You documentary is The Wiz is the movie that ended blaxploitation.
Oh.
Because it was this super, super overblown, big budget movie.
Yeah. With like everybody in it.
With everybody in it, but it was directed by a guy, Sidney Lumet, who had only done like gritty crime drama stuff. And it's like, why would you pick him to do a musical?
Why not?
Well, then they also took like some of the music that was so good from the Broadway musical and tossed it out and wrote some new stuff and then made the cast like a bajillion people. So it had a budget of 24 million?
Jesus.
24 million for that time, which was the budget of every blaxploitation film in 1 year.
Holy shit. Okay. Yeah.
And then it lost 10 million at the theater. But it also was universally panned for so many reasons, like Diana Ross was too old to play Dorothy by about 20 years.
No big deal.
Right. But what happened because black folks didn't go in, droves to see it, is that the white people running the studios were like, see, black people don't want to see themselves on the screen. And they stopped making all black cast kind of movies because they were like, see, this is perfect. It's the black people. They didn't go to the movies, so they don't get any more movies. And this was the one that really ended blaxploitation films.
In what year was that?
1978.
Jesus.
Yeah. And one of the things that they said was black people don't want to see themselves on the big screen. It was like everybody wants to see themselves.
How presumptuous of you.
Right, because they didn't go see this one not great movie.
You're right. Black people only want to see themselves as the help.
Right. Well, up till the 60s and 70s, that was kind of it.
Yeah.
Other than, Sidney Poitier, a couple people who managed to get in and be doing, lead roles.
Yeah.
But, for the most part, it wasn't until that era where you're like, you have the heroes and the anti-hero and the villain and the whoever, and they're all black people.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, look, we can be everybody. Just like white people.
Who knew?
Who knew? Except cooler. So that was that. I wanted to talk about that. But the other thing, and this will lead us kind of into what we're going to talk about today, is... So the other day, I was watching We're Here on HBO, which is, if you haven't seen it,
amazing.
It's 3 drag queens. Bob the drag queen, who I j'adore.
J'adore.
Shangela,
also
and
adore.
Eureka.
I first of all, I love Eureka.
I didn't love Eureka when I first started seeing her on the Drag Race because she was obnoxious.
Yeah.
But as she's grown up, she has become quite a wonderful person. I think she's precious. Yeah. She comes across as being much more kind of aware and awake, and I like that.
Yeah.
And Shangela, well, she's Shangela.
Yeah.
Shangela's freaking everywhere.
I love Shangela,
and so you gotta love Shangela. But so I was watching specifically. I'm behind on it. Because sometimes it's a little hard for me to watch because they go to these small towns, and I'm always like, someone's going to kill them. You know,
honestly.
It really
because the two
so
of them are black drag queens.
Yes, but all three of them are drag queens.
Yes,
you know, and they're going to these small towns to work with folks who are queer who want to kind of break out of their shell and whatever. But these are towns often, I mean, we've seen episodes where the town wants to run them out of town just for being there, for being black. For Branson, Missouri.
I was going to say Branson, girl.
Branson, Missouri, they were like, you can't be here. You can't even stand in front of this building. It was like, what the fuck? You know, but this one that I watched this week was episode 4 of season 2. They were in Selma, Alabama. And what's interesting is Selma is kind of the birthplace of the civil rights movement. It's what really kicked off, you know, the civil rights movement. And it's not a safe place for queer people. No. It's much better for
I'm sorry,
black
did you
people.
say the South? Yes,
I know. Selma, Alabama, who'd have even thought it? But I've always known about Selma, Alabama. And I also, of course, saw the movie Selma, which, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's brilliant. But it's about the movement there where they were just trying to, the group of civil rights activists, black specifically, go to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Because they were going to walk from Selma all the way to Montgomery, which is the capital of Alabama, go try to get voting rights.
Right.
Because at this point, black people had the right to vote. But it was when they still had to do the test. You know, like, you have to prove you're smart enough to...
Literacy tests, yeah.
Yeah. And, of course, the test changed because if somebody was smart enough to take it, they still had to figure out a way to fail them so that they couldn't vote to keep the black people from voting. So, excuse me, I'm going to take a little drink.
God,
600 marchers were just starting across the bridge, and they were told to turn back, and they didn't. And so state troopers and sheriff's deputies beat the holy fuck out of them. They tear gassed them, they beat them with billy clubs, they turned fire hoses on them, and 17 people were hospitalized, and many others were injured severely, right?
Yeah.
And so sometime later, this a couple weeks later, they were like, yeah, we're going to do this again. And so it went from 600 people to 2,000 people. But by this point, it had gotten national attention. And it had gotten the attention of the president.
Yeah.
Who was like, can you just not? And we'll quietly, over here in the background, work on this voting thing.
Yeah.
And Dr. Martin Luther King was like, no. We're doing this publicly, and we're going to show what the problem is with the white police force and with authority. And so they started across the bridge, this time with 2,000 people. And again, they're going from Selma to... where did I just tell you they were going? They were going to... oh my God. My brain... It just... To Montgomery. Sorry. It fell right out of my head.
Yeah.
And they were able to cross because, again, now they have the national attention, all the media and the president, all these people being like, do not do it. They started out in Selma with 2,000 people, and by the time they got to Montgomery, they had 25,000 people in the march. And that was when Lyndon Johnson signed the bill saying that all black people had the right to vote without any restrictions.
What year was that, 68?
That was, I think so. No, it was 65.
65.
It was 1965. It was March 7th, 1965. And again, The route that was marched by these people is a National Historic Trail, which I love that. Mm-hmm. But watch the movie Selma.
Nothing.
Or just look it up.
Yeah.
The movie is brilliant. It is brutal. It is hard to watch.
Oh, I bet.
But it is also, it's so good.
Well, and so when you were talking about, it was for voters' rights. So the 15th Amendment, which was passed minutes after the Civil War ended, was granting black people... No. The 15th Amendment was in 1870, and it granted black American men the right to vote, right? And right before that was the 14th Amendment, which was it granted all black people equal protection under the law. So with the 15th Amendment...
When does that kick in?
Never. And that was in 1868. So this was minutes after the Civil War, you know? And so, but the 15th Amendment, it was, by the time black folk got their actual right to vote, was almost 100 years after the amendment was created.
Well, the thing that I learned from one of the books that I read was that initially, voting was fine. Mm-hmm. Black people were able to vote.
Black men.
Black men, sorry. Until they started electing black people. Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh, no, this is a problem. Yeah. We can't have them actually putting black people in office. Yeah. And so that was when white people, again,
they created
worried
Jim Crow.
about this very small group of people who were in power, because it was a tiny group. At this point, there was, 3 people who had been elected who were black?
Yeah.
They were also then, some of them were killed, but black people were then terrorized trying to just get to the polling places.
Yeah. Well, and literacy
and
tests.
Murdered.
Well, and that's the thing about literacy tests too, because Jim Crow came into play and black people technically had the right to vote, but in southern states, Jim Crow was you can't use the same facilities or buses or shop at the same places, or it was a whole separate but equal bullshit.
Right.
Which is stupid. But the 15th, obviously stupid, but the 15th Amendment was, gave black American men the right to vote. And that was a huge division amongst the first wave of feminism, because white women were abolitionists for a huge part of it, right? They wanted to fight against the Civil War and slavery and whatever.
Right.
And they were joining forces as women and black folk. Well, when black men got the right to vote before white women said, no more, we're not on your side anymore. And so most of them took a step back from any sort of abolitionist fight or civil rights fight, equality, none of it. They just wanted the right to vote. And the fact that black men who are quote unquote lesser than them got it before they did, they were not about it anymore. So a lot of the women who were touted as being the mothers of women's suffrage, who they are, in retrospect, are horrible fucking people because of how they then treated black men and black people.
Well, because again, like you said, they were out for themselves. Mm-hmm. It was when are we going to get this right? Well, that's lovely. I get that. Yep. You want the right, but when everybody wins, it was when you can stop fighting.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I know. So civil rights has been, people think about the civil rights era as the 50s, 60s, but it's really been happening since the Reconstruction, which is the period of time right after the Civil War, where they're trying to integrate the South back into the North and all these now freed enslaved people into society.
Right.
But Southern people were all, I'm sorry, you want me to do what? I just owned that person, and now they're an actual human.
Now I'm supposed to treat them like they're a person.
Yeah, that's
instead of my property.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which to me, I have never been able to wrap my head around that. Mm-mm. How you could treat a human being, which is of course why they came up with all of this pseudoscience saying, oh, well, they're not really humans. They don't really feel pain like we do. They don't really, whatever the things were, that they were we're going to dehumanize black people as much as possible so that you can feel better about the shitty way that you treat people.
Yeah, right?
And what's amazing to me is that so much of that stuff still lives today.
Yes.
There are doctors who still believe that black people don't feel pain the way that white people do, or they don't experience it the way we do.
So if we think about most industries, law and medical industry and everything was dominated by white men, there are journals that are still used today. We talked about J. Marion Sims, who was like the father of gynecology.
Yes, monster.
Who was a monster, and people still tout him as being like this great man. Yes, we learned things, but there could have been a different way to learn those same things without torturing black women.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, when I read about him, I was just like, oh my God.
Gross,
what
right?
What a monster.
Yeah, and now, because I think in Maryland maybe is where he was, but there's like a statue of him, right? Ugh. And now more and more people are like protesting that it comes down because, well, he tortured black women in a very grossly sexual manner for years.
Yeah. Burn him down.
So one part of I think a lot of the civil rights, like the big events that took place, I can't imagine the guts and the bravery and the courage and the resilience that took to, to march across the bridge in Selma. You know what I mean? Or to be...
Well, and especially if you think about, as they were marching across the bridge in Selma, you can see the police, you see the state troopers, and you know what's going to happen. You know that you're going to get beat. You might get killed.
Yep.
It's amazing that no one got killed because they were literally just kicking and beating. Because one of the women who was on that episode of We're Here was one of the women who survived.
Yeah.
Is still around from being on that march, and she said that she was literally kicked so hard that her body was coming up off the ground. That they were kicking her that hard, and she had to be if anything, a teenager at that point because she's in her I guess 70s.
Yeah.
So she would have been a very young woman, and the fact that she was being kicked and brutalized and whatever, it's amazing that she lived. It's amazing that literally that no one died.
Right. And I think that...
And they wouldn't have fucking cared had they died.
No. And I think that is where resilience comes from, right? And I think that's where that bravery and courage comes from, is that you, as black folk, have lived in this nation that people like you and your ancestors have been subjugated and enslaved and abused and raped and murdered and sold and stolen and all of the horrible things that happened.
Right.
And even after the Civil War and after slavery was abolished, there were still, obviously, all of the things we're talking about, the Jim Crow laws, is separately equal. You have your parts of town, you have your stores, your whatever. And no laws actually protecting black folk, but also lynch mobs were a thing, and it was like a community event where people would go and have like picnics around where people were lynched. Gross. And so to think that these 600 black folk who crossed that bridge were like, well, they're already going to beat the shit out of us no matter what we do. We're already going to be inferior to them. We're already going to be seen as inhuman. So why not try and take them down or try and fight back, right?
Right.
And that's like a lot of the civil rights huge events to me. Like one of my favorite ones is the Little Rock Nine, and it stresses me out a lot because it was in 1954 and civil rights was gaining a lot of momentum, and the Supreme Court it's when they made segregation illegal in public schools, right? Brown versus Board of Education. And so the Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas asked for volunteers to attend a formerly segregated school. So 9 black students, this is September 3rd of 1957, arrived at, called the Little Rock Nine, arrived at Central High School and started to enter, but were met by the Arkansas National Guard on order of Governor Orville Faubus, whoever the fuck he was, and a threatening mob of people. And so they tried again a couple of weeks later and were actually made it inside, but minutes later they had to be removed for their own safety. Because more violence ensued. Shocking. So finally, President Dwight D. Eisenhower intervened and ordered that the federal troops to escort Little Rock Nine to and from classes every day. So the students faced harassment and prejudice, but they were no longer physically attacked because they had armed fucking guards everywhere they went. So it did bring a ton of attention to desegregation of most public institutions, but obviously it didn't happen lickety-split.
No, of course not.
But these 9 high school students were just entering into the pit of hell, essentially. They were walking directly into the enemy's camp every day. And the fact, this makes me think, this goes back to what we were talking about with your son, when he has to be, where he has a teacher with him often, you know? Like, I think when you have a person of authority with you, and especially when you are already targeted, it just makes you more of a target. Yeah, so to walk a group of 9 children and you have an army with you, people are going to then think that you need to be taken out completely, right? You're using resources. You don't deserve the protection. You shouldn't be here. All of the things.
Right.
So that to me is bazonkers, you know? But again, resilience. And who would you have volunteered? As a black student, would you have volunteered?
No. Mm-mm. No. See, and that's just it. I, of course, can't know what it's like.
Sure.
Because, you know, growing up white, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do know that the idea that I'm going to put myself intentionally in harm's way in the hopes that it's going to make things better for everyone, I don't think I could do it.
I know.
I mean, I'm not brave. I mean, not like that. No. I mean, I've certainly gone up to marches. I have gone to protests. I have done, but I never really felt as though I was going to die in the process.
Right.
Or that was even on the table. Where this, it was on the table.
Yeah.
You know, there was a serious chance that these folks could have been killed before they even got into the school building, which is what they fucking tried to do. You know, and when you see all the crazed white people, you know, foaming at the mouth who are going to kill them.
Yeah.
Or who want to kill them because they're in their whiteness, in my white building, in my white school, in my white community. It's like, calm the fuck down. What is wrong with you?
I know. And that, again, you're so uncomfortable by the unknown that you're like foaming at the mouth crazy. Like, you look fragile. And this is one thing when we talk about white fragility, girl. Like, you can't even handle a black person in your school without wanting them to die. Like, that is psychotic. White people need to go to fucking therapy. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Every white person, I don't care who the fuck you are, go to therapy and wash your ass, you know? Those are the 2 things. 2 takeaways from this whole podcast. 2 takeaways.
Go to therapy, wash your ass.
Yes, girl. Uh-huh.
You know, I'm going to be thinking about that a lot, because it's like, I never knew that was the thing that folks didn't wash.
Well, now, when you're thinking about it, and someone pisses you off, wash your ass. Go to therapy and wash your ass.
Okay.
You get it.
Listen, did you have something else?
I mean, there's more things, but
I know there's more things. Well, because I have a letter.
Oh, my God.
I have a letter that I want to read you. Who do we have letters from? Lori Lee.
Okay, perfect.
And it's a long one. It's about 7 hours long. But I'm going to condense it. No, I'm just going to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
As I was reading it, when I saw it, I opened it up and I'm like, Lori Lee, wow, you had some time on your hands to write. Ooh, girl. You know, but she likes to listen to our pod when she's had a little bit to drink. Which I think we're probably much better if you've had a little bit to drink. Maybe a lot of it to drink. Although I think that my sister listens to us while she's driving, so hopefully she hasn't had anything to drink other than some water.
All the stuff.
She's hydrated.
Yeah.
All right, so this is actually from 6 days ago. So it's titled "Witches, Scientists, Eggs."
Love it.
I'm like, what?
Yes.
Hi all. I'm covering 3 weeks at once, and since I forgot why I walked into a room, this could be either interesting or totally confusing. I am very sorry for the loss of your fur baby. Yeah, that was a tough week. I learned something new on that episode that made me sad for our Bella. We had to put her down 5 years ago. I didn't know that she could still hear me after the first shot. When she went slack, I lost it and ran out of the room in distress. Understandably.
Yeah.
Because, it's hard. It makes me sad that she could hear that. Now, thanks to your info, I will suck it up next time that I have to put an animal down so that they don't hear or feel my distress. Well, it's tough.
Yeah.
You know, it is tough. It's so hard because they become part of our families. Valentine's Day, never been a really big thing, big on Valentine's as an adult. Our anniversary is February 4th. So that day, we celebrate. That is when we remember. We do try to do a little something on Valentine's Day. I gave Paul Sr. a carton of eggs this year, and he gave me strawberries, so we were both very happy. I don't understand a carton of eggs strawberries, but okay.
Maybe that's their favorites, okay.
Maybe. Here's your eggs. It's whatever. I had a good laugh when you were talking about performers. Good thing I wasn't eating my strawberries when you said that don't sing a Billie Holiday song with a Katy Perry face. Well.
Girl.
Although it was Jennifer Holiday, but same point.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to see you smiling and giggling and whatever when you're singing about heartbreak.
Yeah.
I enjoyed your take on Black History Month today. When I worked with kids, I would choose a country or culture every month to focus on. We celebrated the food, games, music, and stories of said culture.
I love that.
I started with Americans with African ancestry, and then all the inventions that save lives every day. One of the inventions, is the traffic light. A gentleman by the name of Garrett Morgan saw the need for a signal to slow down when you're going to need to stop. So he's the reason we have a yellow slow down warning.
Okay.
That wasn't his only invention, but it was the one that kids found intriguing. We moved on to Native Americans and then traveled the world. The kids had all the input as to what countries we would travel to. I love that. Yeah. Salem. And dear Lord, don't read this part of your podcast. What?
No!
I forgot that she said that. Wait, so I can't really read that part?
She said that
too. You know, Lori Lee, I'm going to read it anyway. We love you, but I'm going to read it anyway.
Oh my God.
Well,
hello, police.
All right, I won't read it. Listen, she's just talking about some generational guilt about folks in the witch trials and stuff. So I won't read that part out loud, but then I don't know where to start again because heaven knows. Listen, I'm just glad that she's listening to our pod. I'm glad that she thinks that we're entertaining, funny, smart, whatever she thinks.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Who cares? Makes herself feel better about her. Because we're dumb.
God knows some weeks we are stupid, but we are really glad that folks are listening.
Yes.
Now, today, the day that we're recording this, it is the last day of February, which is the last day of Black History Month. And tomorrow is Women's History Month. It starts March. It's women, Yeah. And of course, women get a longer month than black folks, but whatever.
Yeah, makes sense.
Obviously. Because, white people.
Yeah.
But we're going to also be talking about some women's history stuff. Ooh. And of course, because it's us, that will also be black women, queer women, trans women.
Yes.
It'll
be all the women.
All the women. Girl. All the women in all the world that we find interesting. So, sorry, white ladies, it won't just be you.
There'll be a couple.
Well, sure. There's a couple interesting ones. So, last night... Alright, I'm going to back up just a tiny bit.
You started with last night.
when we were in California last year on my birthday, we went to Kohl's. Kohl's always has these racks of books called for Kohl's Cares. Okay. So it's books and often accompanying stuffed animals for $5 each. But all the money goes to children's charities.
Snaps.
Now here in Oregon, it goes to Dornbecker Children's Hospital, which I love.
Makes sense.
But they're always beautiful books. They're not cheap books. They wouldn't be $5 anywhere else. But what's interesting is here, it's always books like, Snoopy or Paddington Bear or whatever. There was a whole stack of books that were all about black children.
Oh, yeah.
And so, of course, I bought them all.
Yeah.
I'm like, but these are way too young for my children. I don't even care. But one of the books that we read couldn't find the books when we got home because the children stuck them somewhere in the playroom. And my playroom looks like an episode of Hoarders because the children keep putting shit in there and never clean anything out.
Right.
Well, the other day, my daughter found this bag of books that we bought in California last year. And so we've been reading these books. And again, they're too young for my children, don't care. The one we read last night is called Parker Looks Up. Okay. And of course, my son loved it because it's called Parker. Yeah. And that's his name. Whatever. It's Parker Looks Up, and it's about this young lady who goes to the museum, sees the beautiful portrait of Michelle Obama. And in that moment is so inspired by this beautiful black woman who has this gigantic painting in this museum that she is looking at this and realizing she could be whatever she wants to be. Yeah. She doesn't have to be limited to whatever people say girls can do or what they say black girls can do or what they say, about anything. But what's really cute is it's a true story. And it's the girl who, her name is Parker Curry. It's written by her and her mother. Okay. And it's wonderful. And it has a little follow-up on the back by the woman who actually did the painting of Michelle Obama. Okay, yeah. So if you're looking for a little book that, fun, nice for kids, little inspirational, it's called Parker Looks Up.
Cute. I love that.
Yeah. So we read that last night. It was really good. And like I said, we have a whole stack of them. One of them is, I think it's just called Curls, and it's about black hair.
Love that.
Yeah.
Perfect, yeah.
So, teaching the children.
Yeah, and guess what? Just because it's the end of Black History Month doesn't mean that you have to stop talking about Black history or Black folk. You can keep teaching and learning and helping people understand.
And so listen, white people, we're going to tell you a couple of important things that you need to always keep in mind.
Go to therapy. Wash your ass.
Wash your ass. Don't touch a black person's hair.
Ooh, literally ever.
And don't even ask.
No.
Don't touch their hair. It's just hair. And if you want people putting their hands on your head, that's different.
No.
You can say, come touch my head, but nobody wants to touch your head.
No.
But don't touch black people's hair. It's offensive. It's considered a microaggression. It's racist. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
And if you've never heard this before, now you've heard it.
You're welcome.
So, I was watching a movie the other day that I'm going to recommend. It's for young people. It's a young readers kind of, but young people movie. It's called Moxie. And it's girl power.
Girl power.
Girl power. But one of the girls in it, very beautiful young black woman, she's like, because they're all now kind of getting their footing to speak out about what they want to speak out about. She's like, stop asking if you can touch my hair. No, you cannot touch my hair.
Right.
And in fact, one of the books that I have that I love, it's by Phoebe Robinson, is called No, You Cannot Touch My Hair.
Yep. Don't even look at it.
So don't do it. All right?
Exactly. I know.
That's all we have time for today.
Oh my God, we did it.
We did it. I know.
With zero interruptions?
No interruptions. That's shocking. The dogs didn't bark because we left them out today.
Just in the cold.
Didn't bark. The old lady didn't come up and interrupt us. Nothing happened.
Oh my God.
It was perfect.
I'm about it. If it could be like this more often.
The only thing you could be like, oh no, I forgot to record all this. But I did not. It's all recorded.
I'm leaving.
I made no mistakes today. Other than getting out of bed at the start of the day, but whatever.
No, I get that.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yes, ma'am.
So listen, if you liked our podcast, which we hope you do, obviously, somebody likes it because we got, tens of listeners.
Look, I know we have radical ideas that people should be treated like people and there should be equality, but hopefully you learned something.
Equal rights is not
hopefully
pie.
Something pissed you off mostly, because then you'll learn.
I always hope that, but equal rights is not pie. More for someone else doesn't mean less for you.
Right, exactly.
So, but if you like this, like, share, subscribe. Make sure you download a podcasting app so you can listen to us every week and you can pause it and come back to it and whatever. I did find out, and I probably shared this before, that you can just say to your Echo Dot, Alexa, play It Would Seem As Though, and she'll do it.
Oh my God.
She'll do it.
That's cute.
Yeah. So that's how I was at my sister's house when I learned that, because she was like, do this, and I was like, what?
Oh my God.
What?
We're technology.
Famous? We're in technology.
Literally, we are computers now.
I love it. So, and if you, like Lori Lee, want to send us an email, it is at itwouldseemasthough@gmail.com.
Yeah. Tell us anything. Tell us your favorite from Black history. Tell us your favorite stories. Give us something to read. Send me hate mail. Just talk to me.
Tell us how you're changing the world from your little corner.
Yeah, I love that. Snaps.
Yeah. And that is that, and we're going to leave now.
All right, bye, whores.
Bye.
It would seem as though